Hey guys, today I'm going to talk about the two paths to retirement, and you get to choose which one you are going to participate in. Real quick, I just made this whole video, and unfortunately my mic didn't record anything, so I kind of started drawing mid-video and explaining some concepts, so I added some additional drawing here and some stuff that kind of messed up the board, but I'm just going to talk you through it. So the board might look a little confusing right now, but I'm going to talk about this board, okay? So the two paths to retirement, which one are you going to participate in? I'm not going to say one is necessarily good or bad, but these are two ways that we need to think about retirement, okay? As a young person, I'm 28. This is something that I've always thought about from a very young age. And even as if you're older here, you may need to think about this concept as well. And the cool thing is you can kind of transition into which one you want depending on how you've set up your savings. But let's talk about what is retirement, okay? So retirement is just, you cannot retire until you lock in your lifestyle, okay? So retirement has nothing to do with your age. It has to do with, can I lock in my lifestyle? And it also has to do with what government and societal programs did I subscribe to, okay? So what does that mean? I can't retire till I lock in my lifestyle. Okay, so if I have a lifestyle and that lifestyle is I want to be homeless on the beach and just be able to afford food and maybe a little bit of clothes, I could retire very early because my lifestyle of being homeless is locked in, okay? If I save enough money, I could retire a lot earlier than someone whose lifestyle that they want to lock in is, I want to live in a van, and now I got to pay for gas. Or maybe my lifestyle is, I want to live in a 2-bedroom house, or I want to live in an apartment, or a condo, or a senior living, or a mansion, okay? So whatever lifestyle you choose, you cannot retire until you lock that lifestyle in. Okay? Now, I'm just using numbers here to explain $5,000 a month. Let's just say that is your lifestyle. Okay? This is a relatively attainable lifestyle, and I think it's pretty basic for an average American to be able to live off of, depending on what your living situation is. But let's just say $5,000 a month. This is the number. Maybe yours wants to be higher, maybe it's lower. It doesn't matter. It's not a real number. It's just an idea, okay? So $5,000 a month. Retirement is not based on your age. It's based on if my assets and income cover my lifestyle, okay? So what does that mean? $5,000 a month. I retire at 65. I think I'm going to live till I'm 85. So that's 25 years or 20 years at $5,000 a month. 5 times 12 is 60 grand. 60 grand times 20 years is $1.2 million. Okay? So I got $1.2 million is what I'm going to need to save if I want to bleed that out and live till I'm 85, okay? So option number one we're going to get into is Savers Club, okay? So which path are we going to choose? I'm going to talk to you about both of them. This is mindset. I don't care which camp you choose. I'm just going to explain what both of them are from my mindset, and we'll go from there, okay? So Savers Club. Savers Club is this. I'm building a mountain, okay? What Savers Club is the equivalent of stacking a pile of gold. Okay, I'm stacking a pile of gold. I'm going to spend a majority of my life to pay for my elderly survival. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. Now, this is the mindset that I've been taught growing up. This is kind of the camp that I was in. Okay, well, I got to save this huge pile of money. Okay, I got to work, save, get it in the 401k, get it in the Roth IRA, make sure I'm getting the Social Security. A pension no longer exists in most cases, so can't really rely on that. But basically, here's what's happening, okay? So I'm building a mountain, and there's 3 different mountains here. So red is bad, orange is in the middle, green is good. Generally, green is better than red. Okay. Basically, what's happening here is I have to get to a peak, and the peak of my mountain means I've saved. When I get to the peak, it means I've saved enough money to cover for the $5,000 a month. So let's just say that number is $1.2 million at 60 years old. That's what this top of the mountain is right here, okay? And that could be the same 1.2, whatever the amount is, that's the amount you need to live. Now, if you notice, red, the peak is a lot lower than orange and green. It's because as you're older, if you retire at an older age, you don't need as much money to survive because you're not going to live as long. So the mountain doesn't need to be as high. Versus if I retire at a very young age, the mountain needs to be significantly higher. Okay? So in this scenario, we built a mountain, we bleed it out. Hopefully we have some cash left over. And this is not just cash. The idea is stacking gold, but this is stock. I used stock market appreciation. Maybe I built and sold a business along the way. All of that attributed to my appreciation of these assets, okay? So it's not just, I didn't just save cash in a bank account here. I want to clarify, I built a mountain any possible way. It's a general concept here. I built a mountain through stocks, businesses, real estate. I build a mountain and I live off the mountain. That's Savers Club, okay? If I retire younger, then my mountain needs to be higher. And then I get to choose, maybe I build a really big mountain and I'm only going to live for a certain amount of time, so I bleed the mountain way faster to attain my lifestyle here, or I kind of draw it out on a very small monthly payments or weekly payments to cover my expenses, okay? I spend the majority of my life to pay for my elderly survival. This is called stacking gold, is really what I'm talking to you about. Now, you can retire if you're 20. If you have $100 million and you're 20, cool, you can retire, and you can retire right now and live for the rest of your life and do whatever you want. But if you're 85 and you have $20,000, then you probably are still going to have to work, okay? And that's just the mindset. I save a mountain, then I bleed the mountain dry, and I give, if there's any left of the mountain, anything left over from the mountain, then I can will that to my kids. So basically, that's what I was kind of drawing here, this blue line here. I built a mountain, I bleed it out. Hopefully that there's still some left over, I will it to my kids. They build their mountain. Hopefully they had some left over, they will it to their kids. And eventually my family's lineage wealth over the long term gets higher and higher and higher. The mountain goes up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And the future generations are better off than where I was. This is, I think, a very popular mindset. Now, I want a quick touch on this. If I want to retire early, and a majority of this mountain is locked into Social Security, locked into a Roth IRA or any retirement program that requires me to be a certain age, even if I have enough money to retire when I'm 30, I still can't retire till I'm 65 because I can't touch the money. Okay, so I think you just open your mind a little bit. Sure, I have enough money, but if I can't touch it till 65, if I can't enjoy my money till I'm 65, maybe I shouldn't subscribe to that program, or maybe I shouldn't bet such a high percentage of my wealth on that program. Okay, maybe I should lower my contributions and put it in something else. Okay, because now I'm stuck. I can't. There's penalties in order for me to access that. Now there's loopholes like taking out your principal. We're not going to get into all that, but it's just the thought I'm planting in your mind here is, well, if I can't touch it till I'm 65, then it doesn't matter how much I have, I can't touch it till I'm 65. I could have $10 billion, but if I can't touch it till I'm 65, I'd rather have $100,000 that I can use now, and that's just something that you have to decide for yourself. Okay. Now the other alternative here is cash flow freedom. That's what I call it, cash flow freedom. Now in Savers Club, all we're worried about is our net worth and our time. Okay. In cash flow freedom, we're worried about our net cash flow. Now there's a baseline to each of these here, and the baseline just means that the baseline is this $5,000 a month. So in order to pay for that, my mountain needs to be really high because I got to bleed it all the way out. But for net cash flow, all I need is a $5,000 a month cash flow. Okay, so the baseline is a lot lower. And what happens is even if I'm in the red, even if I'm on the worst end of this, I can retire a lot earlier than these guys because my cash flow is above my baseline. Okay, and I can just maintain that cash flow and just live passive paycheck to paycheck, basically, and live the life that I want without selling any of my assets. Now, here's the thing. The difference between cash flow freedom and Savers Club, I'm stacking a mountain of gold, and I'm depleting that mountain of gold as I decline and as I reach elderly age, okay? With cash flow freedom, you don't sell your assets. You hold the assets, and they pass on to the next generation. And that's why I love cash flow freedom. But what we're doing is we're building a cash flow that supersedes this $5,000 a month, okay? Once I hit that, I can retire if I'm 22. I can retire if I'm 40. All I'm doing is I'm in cash flow freedom mode, okay? I have assets because I bought businesses instead of stacking gold. Now, businesses, I'm talking about potentially a dividend income business, a real estate investment trust, any kind of business that's going to pay a dividend. Maybe I'm a limited partner in an Amazon FBA conglomerate or a Walmart warehouse fulfillment conglomerate. But all I'm doing is I'm accumulating assets that pay me more cash flow than my expenses, okay? So in this scenario, I have X amount of assets that pay me dividends or pay me rental income in my real estate portfolio that covers the $5,000 a month. Now, why is this plan better in my opinion, okay? At the end of my life, I don't sell the asset. The asset gets willed to my kids. So what I was talking about, we build the mountain and we decrease the mountain. Now that hopefully it's a little bit higher, build it. Hopefully it's a little bit higher than where I started. And that's the mountain idea. Okay. With this, at the end of my life, I build my cash flow. Maybe I build a very high cash flow and it flattens out. Maybe I slowly grow mine over time and I compound my cash flow dividend investments. Maybe I just kind of milk it for what it is. Now, this blue line is just to compensate for our baseline is going to go up, and that would be true for both. But the $5,000 a month, maybe $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 a month as we age because of inflation and costs of living and things like that. So you have to be cognizant of that. But all the mindset is do my assets pay me a monthly amount that is more than my expenses? Instead of bleeding my supply, do my assets generate income? And the difference is this. Did I buy a mansion for $1 million, or did I buy a farm for $1 million? Or let's use the gold example. Did I buy $1 million worth of gold bars, or did I buy a $1 million farm? Okay, if I buy $1 million worth of gold bars, sure, they may appreciate in value, but I'm slowly bleeding that capital down to pay for my expenses. Versus if I buy a $1 million farm, and that $1 million farm generates let's just say it generates $6,000 a month in cash flow. Well, that farm is all I need because I bought a business that pays me more than my expenses, okay? So what I wanted to explain, and that's what this is right here. At the end of my life, when I will this to my kids, they start here. They don't start down here. They start here. And they get the opportunity to keep adding and adding and adding. And this is generational wealth. This is how generational wealth is created. Because I don't have to sell any of the assets. I just teach my kids how to manage their assets and how to compound them. And every single generation after that goes up and up and up and up and up and up. Okay, that's why I like this idea. It's not like, man, I hope I saved enough. It's, hey, man, I have so much assets paying me cash flow. Yeah, of course I can liquidate these assets if I need, but I don't even need to do that because they pay me an income. All right, and I drew this right down here because this is kind of like my family lineage right here. Okay, so my grandparents did a really good job. They saved a bunch of money. They were really good saving. They bled it down while they were old, and they had some left over, willed it to the kids. My parents, really good, save, build a mountain and bleed it down, and then there's money left over for the kids. And here's where I come in. I'm right here at the X Factor. I am grateful that these people did the best that they could and managed their wealth wisely, but they didn't understand how cash flow assets work. They did the best they could with what they have, and I'm thankful for those generations. But what I'm going to do is, in addition to the money that I make by myself, is take the stepping stones that they gave me, and now I'm building cash flow assets. And cash flow assets go up and up and up. And then the next generation goes up and up and up. And then the next generation goes up and up and up. And so instead of going up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, we're going up and up and up and up and up and up because we're living off cash flow. We're not living off of savings. And that's just the two things. When I have cash flow freedom, guess what? If I built this for my life, when my kids and my great-grandkids can retire when they're 10, because the assets will take care of them, and they can spend their life helping people or doing whatever they want, trying snowboarding or being the best that they want, because they don't have to worry about money, because the generation, that's how your family should work. Generations pass on wealth, and the wealth generates income, and the income pays for the next generation, and then they don't have to work. Or if they do, they have to work very minimally, and they don't have to worry about the money as much, okay? These are general concepts. I'm not going to promise that, oh, nobody's ever going to have to work in the future. I'm just giving you the example. Do you understand how when I have assets that pay me cash flow and I just will that to my kids, they inherit the cash flow? So they inherit enough to pay them $5,000 a month versus right here at the end of the mountain, they won't have enough because they're going to have to go build their own mountain themselves off of that in order to pay for that because they don't understand the concept of cash flow assets. This is what retirement is to me. You build cash flow assets that pay for your living expenses so you can stop spending your time trying to survive and spend your time innovating, enjoying your family, going on vacation, all that fun stuff, guys. This is a mindset. Are you in the cash flow freedom or are you in Savers Club? If you did Savers Club, if you're old and you're watching this right now, not dissing on the elderly, if you're of mature age, of retirement age, if you have your date of birth is a lot earlier date than mine is, and you did Savers Club, and that was the best thing that you could do in life, congratulations, you did a good job, okay? I want to encourage that you did a good job because you did the best at what you used the assets and the knowledge that you had to do good in life. And if you haven't done that, there's still time to get some sort of asset base going, maybe trying a real estate venture or something like that, where you can get a little cash flow. Now you have your assets and you can will that to your kids. But basically, if you're old and watching this, what I wanted to convey is for your next generation, because you did this, and you realize now after watching this that cash flow freedom would have maybe been a better option. Why don't you take that and teach it to the next generation so your next generation looks like this? And isn't that awesome? Hey, I did the best that I could, and then right here, I learned a better way to do it. And now my next generation is 3 times wealthier than what I was. What an awesome way to finish the 4th quarter of your life by catapulting your kids and grandkids by teaching them cash flow freedom concept, by buying businesses. I can't get into the details of how you do all that. That's what you're going to have to figure out yourself. Maybe along this channel, I'll share with you some different ways that I do that. But that's what I want to share with you guys today. Which way are you going to retire? Are you going to retire with cash flow freedom, or are you going to join Savers Club? Are you going to buy businesses, or are you going to stack gold? These are, if you're going to retire, you're in one of these camps. There is a mid camp that's like a mixture of both to do that. And in order to do cash flow freedom, we kind of have to start at Savers Club and kind of transfer that into cash flow freedom. But at the end of the camp we need to be in is cash flow freedom. So that's what I want to share with you guys. Have a wonderful day.